Now, according to several news outlets like The Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and others, which means this is not an official announcement from Lucasfilm, though these sources are usually pretty credible, it seems Boba Fett will be appearing in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, played by none other than Temuera Morrison, the same actor who played Jango Fett in Episode 2. These sources are also saying that he will only have a small part to play, and that, as many suspected or guessed, his eventual appearance was seemingly teased in Season 1 when a mysterious figure showed up and discovered the body of Fennec Shand at the end of the 5th episode. This mysterious character was wearing spurs, which of course Fett is known to do, and there was a little noise, I guess you could call it, that played, which was the same sound we heard when Fett briefly showed up in the special edition of Episode 4 at the end of the newly inserted Jabba the Hutt scene. Furthermore, there is evidence of sorts elsewhere in the new canon that Fett did escape the Sarlacc pit, which he's seen falling into during the Return of the Jedi, unceremoniously, we thought, bringing an end to his life. In the Aftermath series of books from a few years back now, there is a brief interlude chapter where a sheriff on Tatooine named Cobb Vanth is seen wearing an apparently acid-damaged set of Mandalorian armor that he got from a Jawa sandcrawler. Since then, many have assumed it's only a matter of time before the character makes his return, and he of course did return in the old expanded universe as well, though I suppose there is a chance that perhaps these reports are not entirely accurate, or not accurate at all is always possible, and Morrison could be playing a clone trooper. Perhaps he could even be playing Rex, since there are other reports out there, very credible ones, that say Ahsoka Tano will be in Season 2 of The Mandalorian as well. And I think a lot of fans would enjoy seeing these two characters reunite yet again. They were also together in Rebels, and to see it happen in live action this time. Either way, this is interesting news, as is or was the news about Ahsoka being in Season 2, and that she'll be played by Rosario Dawson. And I think after the huge success of Season 1, Disney and Lucasfilm are going to swing big with the second season. I think it's going to be their Star Wars centerpiece, if you will, for the foreseeable future, at least till new movies come out, which is supposedly happening in December of 2022, but who knows? In other words, this is where the best and biggest Star Wars stories will be told, where they'll pull out all the big guns. Which, if right, might end up being a bit of a departure from the first season of the show, which was very small and personable, and essentially just followed the Mandalorian as he kind of went on the run with Baby Yoda, and didn't include any really known characters. And I do think a lot of people really enjoyed that approach, a smaller, simpler one, that focused on something completely new in the Star Wars galaxy. So it'll be interesting to see, assuming I'm right, if the show does get a bit bigger in scale, if the stakes are upped a bit. And though I don't think, assuming they do have small roles as reported, that bringing in the likes of Ahsoka and Boba Fett will throw a huge shadow over the Mandalorian himself at this point, there is a part of me that feels like they don't really need to do this, that the show can easily stand on its own and was standing on its own in Season 1. And so my only hope is that the inclusion of these characters makes sense for the story, not that just, hey, look who he happened to run into. And I think with Boba Fett, it'll obviously have something to do with Fennec Shand's death, that Boba Fett will perhaps come after the Mandalorian for it, and though that's a pretty convenient way to bring him in, my guess is that it will just be for one episode, maybe two, and then after that we'll see him elsewhere down the road soon after, maybe even in his own show. There's been a lot of talk at Disney and Lucasfilm that what may happen is us seeing shows spawn other shows or movies spawning shows and so on. Which is an idea I do like for the most part. I do like the thought of a constantly branching out story where threads or characters can again overlap at times. Something vaguely similar in style to what the MCU does. And this mini shared time period can be set between the two trilogies, the originals and the sequels, though there are certainly a lot of fans that don't care all too much about how the story sort of flows into the sequel time period. Though maybe a bit of context will do them some good, then again, I think a lot of fans would agree the story itself is just not very well told or consistent, so it would require some major work in the lead-up time period to make them better. Or hell, maybe they'll just retcon the sequels and tell a new story that sort of flows into and rewrites that time period. Bringing in Ezra and involving the world between worlds could even be a way to do that. And no, I don't really think that'll happen, but it is an interesting idea. Either way, I do think the inclusion of Ahsoka and Boba Fett is meant to branch out into different projects. I can't imagine you tease fans with brief appearances of two of the most popular characters in the franchise without eventually doing more and much more with them. I suppose there's even a chance this upcoming series that was recently announced that will be brought to us by Leslie Headland is a show about Ahsoka. The original report from Variety said it was a new time and place in the Star Wars galaxy, and though you'd think that implies new and different characters too, who knows? Or it's also possible that the original report wasn't entirely accurate in regards to what the show will be about. It's also possible nothing at all has been planned or decided about this show, not the first time something like that would have happened at Lucasfilm. So again, here to wrap up this rather short video, I'm cool with this news. I'm cool with bringing Boba Fett back as long as he's played by Temuera Morrison and doesn't steal too much thunder from the Mandalorian himself, and that hopefully this goes somewhere. That bringing him in isn't just blatant fan service to get a couple more people to subscribe to Disney+. If done right, bringing Morrison in is yet another way to tie things together, and especially things from way back in the prequels. And though I loved the original voice of Boba Fett done by the late Jason Wingreen, that was one of those changes in the special edition I was okay with for continuity's sake, having Morrison voice him, I mean. And it'll be made all the better when we get to see him in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Well, that's all I've got for you this time, and this is once again one of those times I'm oh so very curious to hear what you all have to say. Do you like this move? Do you want Boba Fett in Season 2 of The Mandalorian? Or do you think he's going to steal thunder away from our main character? Whatever the case may be, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.